Hey everyone, this is me, the Undead Viking. I'm here to talk to you about this game right here. It is Nuclear Destruction. Now, a lot of you, I mean, if you're kind of an older gamer like myself, you're going to look at this and you're going to say, this looks a lot like something I used to play, especially that dude right there, the artwork or whatever, looks a lot like something that I played before, like the old game Nuclear War from Flying Buffalo. And this is basically the new cool all-inclusive version of Nuclear War that is coming out just now on the crowdfunding. I am a big fan of Nuclear War. I played it a lot when I was younger. It was one of those games that, like, before there was this whole explosion of independent studios, of people that were publishing games. There were these smaller studios, or whatever, that would publish games that were just off the beaten path. They weren't the standard Parker Brothers, Milton Bradley things that most people played. And when you saw a game like Nuclear War and it was on the shelf at your local game store, when I would go there and I'd be looking through D&D books and not finding any new modules or anything, I would start scanning the shelves looking for something else that I could spend my allowance on. And I would see these games. I remember reading, and this is as a child of being born in the 70s and living through, the Cold War and what have you, where it just seemed like the possibility that a nuclear war could possibly happen at any given moment. Like reading about it, like this whole, like, oh, you blow each other up and you kill millions and millions of people. Now, that, of course, that's morbid and horrible and disgusting. And the idea of it in reality can be very, very troubling. But at the time, it was kind of like that, I didn't know the term gallows humor at that time when I was a child, but it definitely was a situation where it was a like making light of the idea that at any given moment, like a missile could hit your hometown and everybody's obliterated. It was just kind of, there was a morbid fascination, if you will, with it. And a game like Nuclear War sped right into that mentality, something that me and my friends all enjoyed. Now, so I played a lot of Nuclear War when I was a kid, and then it would be for the classic beer and pretzels game that would get taken out during a normal board game evening, and we would play something like that. But anyway, this is the newest version of it, Nuclear Destruction, and they were kind enough to send me a copy, asked me if I'd give my thoughts on it. Let me show you how it's played. It's not that difficult of a game to learn and play out, and then we'll come back here and I'll give you my final thoughts. All right, here we go.
Play. I find it weird that people don't know how to play Nuclear War because this game's been around forever. But then I have to remind myself, I have been around forever as well. So here we go. So each person is going to get a player board like this, and there's a big giant deck of Nuclear War cards, and there's a big giant deck of population cards. Now, at the beginning of the game, each person, depending upon the number of people that are playing, they're going to be dealt a bunch of these population cards. The population cards are going to have different numbers of people on them, from 1 million to 25 million. So some people are going to have more, and some people are going to have less. But regardless, if you can get their population deck down, you know you're doing something right because you're killing off their people. There will be leftover population cards that are set aside. There are situations where you'll be able to gain population because of certain cards you play. There's also if you have like a 10 million card left and somebody does 6 million people damage to you, you'll have to go through this deck to find change, basically, like smaller cards to exchange those out. So just keep that in mind. You're not going to use all the population cards, and you will need them, so don't throw them in the box when you're done. You will also start off with a hand of cards. You'll be dealt 9 cards, and starting with the first player and working your way around, each player will play any secret cards they may have in their hand. Now, I have purposely set up these cards to make sure I have a wider range of the different types of cards you can get, and I'm going to talk about that in a little bit. But before I actually show you how we get set up and how we start playing, let me just kind of explain what you're looking at as well. You're going to have a die. I don't have the die that has the mushroom cloud on it, but it doesn't matter. I'll explain how the die works a little bit. But you're going to have a 6-sided die that's going to have a mushroom cloud on it, and you're also going to have this cool spinner that you're going to spin every single time you successfully launch a nuclear strike on somebody, because then something extra is going to happen. Completely random. You spin the spinner and you go. Now, if you don't want to use the spinner because, I don't know, you don't like spinners. Who doesn't like spinners? If you don't want to use the spinner, the results that are on the board are on this side of the spinner board as well. And you can actually use 2 10-sided dice here, and you can use 2 6-sided dice there if you want to use a different mechanism to create that result. Now, I've known people back in the day of playing the original Nuclear War that they wouldn't even use this. They would just say just a straight card type of situation. But regardless, I'll talk more about variants and stuff when I get to the end of this video and I talk about why I've enjoyed playing, well, now it's called Nuclear Destruction, but why I enjoyed playing Nuclear War as a kid when I first picked up this game. And I should also mention that this is all prototype stuff that I was sent. Things that say Nuclear War, that's from like the old version of the game that I just have to be able to show. But my understanding is that the bits that are in the old Nuclear War, maybe some slight changes, maybe some slight alterations, but for the most part, they're going to remain pretty much the same. Okay, so this is your player board that you see in front of us. The main part of the board that you're going to be using is down here. Now, there are some spots here for like locations for expansions. We're not going to be talking about those spots here while I'm showing how this game is played. We are going to talk about the deterrent force spot as well. You do put your population cards there to kind of show off what you have. And it has some, I mean, I've always said this in my videos, if you watched me for a long time, the more information you can give players at their disposal in front of them that they can look at without having to dig out the rule book, the better. So here we have even like the setup information here, and then also the nuclear escalation misfunction chart, which I'm going to talk about a little bit. That stuff right there for the players to use, which I think is awesome, and I like that a lot. So here are the cards that you're going to have, and like I said, I purposely drew myself a hand with a lot of different ones. But at the very beginning of the game, every player, you got to look through your cards and see if you have any cards that say secret on them, and I have one that says secret. And if you have a card that says secret, starting with the first player, you have to announce that you have X number of secret cards in your hand, because whenever you draw a secret card, you have to play it immediately. So in this situation, like if I was the first player, I would say I have 1 secret card, because I purposely made sure I only had 1 secret card. And secrets have lots of different abilities on them. Some of them will help the person that holds the secret card, and some of them will hurt the person that holds the secret card. And this is important, because when you have the secret card, what you say is, I have a secret. And you allow anybody else at the table to say, well, you know what? I have a spy card. And spies have a lot of different abilities. They can foil saboteurs, steal a secret, and they can be a counter spy, meaning, and looking at other players' launch track, you can see they have all those special abilities. But when you have a spy, you can say, you know what? I'm going to steal that secret from you. And you play your spy card, you discard it. Now, one of the special abilities of the spy is you can counter another person's spy that is played. But so you can say, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about this in my final thoughts about the game, but this is where kind of like, this is a table talk game. This is a discussing, this is a threaten, this is a bluff, this is a game beyond the game type of game. But my secret here says a ground offensive, you invade a neighbor, choose a player, they may play a warhead card from their hand against you without a delivery system. That might not make any sense right now as far as the delivery system goes, but I'll explain how that works in a little bit. Do not spin the spinner or roll the die. And so this is a bad one, right? So it's like, if I want somebody to play their spy card, so I don't have to, like play this secret and somebody else gets it. So you can use whatever. Oh, you better not. I got a really good secret. You're gonna let me You're really gonna let me play it? Okay, you're gonna let me play it. And of course, or you might just be tight-lipped. Yeah, I got a secret. And hope somebody, once again feels, oh, wow, they're being kind of secretive about that. I want to keep it. But regardless, if you have a secret, you have to play it and you have to handle the results. So once that is done and everybody else has played their card, you're going to get to play your first face down card and your second face down card. And those are going to be the first two actions that you take in the game. The first time you're going to move these cards to the right, one to the face up, the second card to the first face down card, and you're going to put another second face down card there. Because in this game, this is a planning game where you're like looking forward to doing things in the future and trying to decide what's going on. Now, there are two phases of this game. Either the world is at war or the world is at peace. And the world is always at peace until somebody tries to launch a nuke at somebody else. Once that is done, the world is at war until somebody is eliminated from the game. And then you'll go back to being at peacetime. So you have this little, you can go, we're at peace, we're at war. So like right now we're at peace because we start off the game at peace. But so there are cards like the propaganda card, where it says during peacetime, 5 million enemy defect to your side. You get to pick somebody, take 5 million. Wartime, draw 2 cards, resolve any secrets, then discard 2 cards from your hand. So this is a way to like kind of, if you have bad cards, you can go through it. Well, we're at peace right now, so maybe I'm going to say that's going to be my first face down card. So I can go ahead and take care of that. Now, some cards are special cards. Special cards aren't ever going to be played face down because they don't have an effect. What they do is they have an effect that you get to play them for during certain situations. In this case, the sneaky missile is play when I'm launching a missile. It does 5 million population less, but the target must discard their face down cards and then refill them from their hand. So if you're worried that somebody's got some really good face down cards, I can use that card to add my missile. But what I'm going to do is, for my second face down card, I'm going to probably want to blow somebody up. So I have warhead cards where it says 15 megatons destroys 3 million, 40 megatons destroys 8 million, things like that where I can use them to blow people up. But in order to send something to fight, I have to have something that'll carry it. In this case, this is like a coyote missile. It carries one warhead up to 40 megatons. Or if I have a bomber, carries any combination of warheads up to 60 megatons. Well, I want to put that bomber down, and I'm going to show you why. Bombers are cool because of the fact that they can carry more than one bomb on successive turns. So I've done my turn, everybody else does their turn, and let's just say it's my turn to go. And so I have a situation here where I'm going to move these two down. And the first thing I should mention, I count how many cards I have. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I have 7 cards. So what I get to do now is you always have to have 8 cards. So I'm going to draw a card into my hand. Now, if I were to draw a secret into my hand at this time, I would play it. But I did not draw a secret. And what I have is I have an Atlas and a Megaton card. Now, this is a cool card because it can be either a missile or a warhead. So and I don't have to pick when I'm playing it. So if I put it face down on my track, once it's revealed, then I would actually show what it does. Well, I'm going to hold on to that one. That's pretty cool. But I'm going to look at my cards as well because it's my turn. And I'm going to show you what the deterrent force card is. So there's a card like this. This is also one that can be, but this is a Saturn missile where it just carries one warhead up to 100 megatons. And a warhead destroys 25 million. Now, on your turn, as well as putting a card that's face down, I can put a face-up card on my deterrent force card. I can actually place up to 2 cards on the deterrent force card. And what I can do is I can put that down there. Now, this card is always considered to be part of my hand. It's never considered to be outside of my hand. So if there's ever anything that says you need to discard 3 random cards from your hand, I would have to like take those cards, put it back in my hand to do those things. But this lets everybody know, hey, check it out. I have a 100 megaton warhead here. And you don't want to mess with me because, hey, when it comes time to, if you blow me up and I get my final strike, which I'm going to talk about the final strikes here in just a little bit, when I get to my final strike, I've got that. And if you're the one that blew me up, you're going to get that missile. I guarantee it. And that's a way you can try to keep people from wanting to attack you. But regardless, remember, I know I've got the propaganda card here. I know I've got that bomber here. Now, what am I going to do? And just so you know, you can always pick up your own cards and look at them at any time. If you've forgotten what the card was, you can pick it up, take a look at it, and put it back down. Well, I've got that bomber. And this bomber, I might as well pick it up, can show that it actually can carry up to 60 megatons. So what can I place in there? So we would put that back there. It's peacetime. And I'm going to go ahead and put this 40 megaton warhead as my next card right there. So I've gone ahead and I've set up my deck to what I want, and now I'm going to flip this card over. And it's going to be a propaganda card. It's still peacetime. I can go ahead and I can do that 5 million exchange, and I can play that. And this one is going to then go into the discard. Now, play goes all the way around, and at the very beginning of the game, nobody's been able to launch a missile yet because of the fact that you need to have a way to deliver the missile and then the warhead. So unfortunately, the world is still at peace. Nobody has tried to blow me up, or maybe they're thinking about blowing me up. Probably the guy I just stole 5 million people from. I've got 6 cards in my hand, so I know I'm going to draw some, but we're going to move this down to here. I should say I have 7 cards in my hand. Got to follow the rules. And now I'm going to draw 1 card into it. Oh, so I got another megaton card. 25 megatons, destroys 6 million people. All right. So now I got to place another card. Now, this bomber, which I haven't revealed yet, this bomber can carry up to 60 megatons. So, and I've got a 40 megaton there. If I want the bomber to go twice, thankfully I've got that Atlas card that has the 20 million megatons. 40 plus 20 is 60, if my math is correct. I'm going to go ahead and put that card there. Now I'm going to reveal that card. I'm going to show everybody I've got a B-58 bomber, and it can carry up to 60 megatons. Now, the other players have no idea what these next 2 cards are. They could be propaganda cards for all they know. They don't know that I'm putting actual bombs into play. Now, they're probably going to guess that I am, but this lets people know what I can possibly do. And let's say, it goes around and like a few people blew each other up on their turn, because now we've actually gotten to like 2 cards playing. Somebody could have launched a missile or a bomber at this point, and we moved into war. But thankfully, nobody's attacked me yet. Remember, I've got that card. I've got the big stick, and nobody wants to fight with me or deal with me right now. So it comes all the way back around to me, and once again, we're going to count how many cards I have. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Again, I'm going to draw a card, and I get a Polaris missile, carries 1 warhead up to 10 megatons. Not the best card in the world, but, it could be worse. Could have got a secret that would have hurt me if nobody had stolen it from me. And I should also mention, you could cards like this as well. And I'll talk about this when I show how I launch these things. But, all right, so now my next card comes. And so we're going to move this one down here. And I know that's a 40 megaton. I know that's a 20 megaton. And, I've got this 25 megaton there waiting to happen. And I've got this Coyote missile going on. So I've got the 25. Maybe I can get a better one, but I'm going to put that missile there for preparation for what's going to happen. And now we reveal, and we see if somebody's maybe angry. So this is going to be 40 megatons. And we're going to go ahead and put that card right there. Now, normally if this is a missile, you just reveal it, you resolve the missile, and you discard both the missile and the megaton card. But in this case, because it's a bomber and it can still be used, and I haven't equaled the 60 megatons it can fall, I'm going to get to use it again. So it's going to destroy 8 million. I pick one of the other players. I say, that bomber is coming for you. And now they get the chance to play a card like this. Now, this is an EKV anti-missile, and you're going to see there's things where mobile intercept, missile intercept rating 90, bomber intercept rating 0. Now, if the person had this card, it wouldn't help them at all because of the fact that this is a bomber. But let's say that was, I was trying to blow them up, with one like this Polaris missile, and it is a missile of 10. So they'd be like, oh, well, I can play that card and I can prevent that missile from blowing them up. Now, they might want to hold on to it and save it for later, but presently, they could use it for that purpose. All right, so where this is going to happen. Now I get to resolve the explosion and see if I get to do any extra damage. All right, so first things first, we get to use the spinner. And like I said, the spinner is awesome. So, but again, if you don't want to use the spinner, you don't have to. But there's lots of different things that happen, so I'm just going to spin it. Give it a, here, hold on, I'll push the spinner up a little bit. And we'll spin it, give it a good spin. We'll see what we get here. And it says, bomb shelters save 2 million people. It might be a little tough to read there, but that's what we ended up. I'm like, ah, man. And so it just like says, you know, we can't, normally this 40 megaton bomb would just kill 8 million people, but they have bomb shelters and it's only going to result in this loss of 6 million. Now this is where I have an option. I can roll the die. If I want to roll the die, and remember the 1 is going to be a mushroom cloud in this case, I can add extra damage for the number that I roll as long as I don't roll a 1. If I roll a 1, I will get on this nuclear escalation misfunction chart where nearly everything on that is bad. Let's just roll the dice and see how much damage I'm going to do. So 5. That's a really good roll. So normally this would have done 8 million, but it's 2 million less, so it's 6 million, and now add 5, and now it's going to be 11 million people destroyed on the person that I targeted. There are actually things on this thing that actually can be bad as well, where you can actually get a dud warhead, or you can have a booster or bomb, like bomber runs out of fuel, or the booster explodes on launch so it doesn't do anything. So spinning the spinner is mandatory. And bad things can happen to the person that is launching the missile or sending the bomber. But rolling this die is completely optional. You don't have to do it. Now, if I had rolled a 1, which in this case I would say is a mushroom cloud, then I would be forced to roll on this chart. And again, it has things like, you know, the cloud or a 1. Disaster, you have somehow directed this ward at one of your own cities. You lose population rather than your target. Or orbital burst, the word goes off in the atmosphere over your country. Discard your delivery system and all face-up warheads on your player mat and you lose your next turn. Things like that are horrible. But if you get lucky, like with a 5 neutron bomb, double the yield. So you actually will do more. Or 6, you hit a nuclear power plant, you do double damage, and your opponent misses 1 turn. So you can, if you roll a mass function, you can actually still get lucky, but for the most part, it's like 2/3 of the results are bad. So I target the person, they take they reduce their population, get rid of population cards to equal that, and then my turn is done. And play continues, and just, you know, as I said, when we get to this next one, because this can be a 20 megaton bomb, it can like add to the 69 to get to that again. This one destroys 5 million, spin the spinner again, so on and so forth. Now, what happens when you're eliminated? Now, I understand people are like, player elimination is bad, and I get it. In a lot of games, if a game is going to last hours and hours and hours, getting knocked out of a game, that's a bad deal, right? Everybody else has fun while you watch. But there's 2 things that are awesome. That if you get knocked out of the game, yes, the game's over for you, but you get to do one last final strike. When you do your final strike, you then reveal all the cards in your hand, including your deterrent cards. You will then match up any warhead cards with any delivery systems you wish. You don't have to do the plan ahead function at all. And you lay them out. You like, if you had like a 100 megaton delivery system, you put those 2 together. If you had a bomber and like this one again, and you'd have several things to play, then you could put those together. If you had just other like booster rockets and warheads, you do that. You put all those together, and then you, as the person that got destroyed, you start launching those at different people, and you get to pick and choose each and every one. These final attacks can be disrupted by playing, anti-missile cards or like anti-bomber cards, can be destroyed, but they do not stop the rest of the final strike. You get to pick and choose each and every one as you go along, and what usually happens is that you will end up blowing somebody else up at that point because everybody's been slowly been like having their population dwindle and dwindle and dwindle and dwindle to the point where you've knocked out another player. Now that player gets to do the exact same thing you did with another final strike, which could probably knock out another player, and that person gets to do another final strike, and so on and so forth, thereby likely causing like a total and completely nuclear annihilation for everybody that is playing, which is fine because that's kind of how the game, I think, in a lot of ways, is supposed to end up. But I'll talk about that a little bit in my final thoughts here. But if there are people that are still surviving after a final strike and a player has been eliminated, if there's anybody still left and more than one player still left, then your game will move back into a peacetime situation, and play will begin as well. So and continue on until there's only one person left standing with any population, and they get to inhabit the nuclear hellhole that the world has been turned into. But that's it. That is how the game works. That is how the process of the game works. There are very few rules to follow, but you do have to follow that planning actions, and you do have to, like, as I said, game beyond the game. Lots of table talk, lots of discussion, lots of threats or bluffs or promises that you want to attack, things like that. Because if you don't, and you're just sitting there and you're playing this game as is, it's the rules are fine. The game is fine. The game is fun. But it is way more fun when the people at the table are cursing at each other, promising, backstabbing, and so on and so forth. That is what makes the game a lot of fun. But I've shown you how the game is played. You should have a really good grasp of it, and you should have a good grasp of kind of the flow of the game and the feel of the game as well. But let me talk more about nuclear destruction in my final thoughts.
All right, so that is nuclear destruction. You should have a pretty good idea of how the game is played. It is not a game that should be taken very seriously in any given way, shape, or form. It is a game that is very much in that beer and pretzels mentality, and it still stands the test of time. I mean, if you are going into it thinking you're going to be playing a 2-hour strategy slog, then this isn't the game. You're picking the wrong game for the situation. But if you're looking for a game where everybody at the table can be like barking and yelling and what have you, and having a good time and revealing cards, saying, I got you, that kind of thing, that's what nuclear destruction is going to be. It is something where, like, win or lose, you don't really care and you move on with your life and you go and play something else. And plus, the really awesome thing is that it never really takes too long to play. Meaning that once the first person kind of drops out of it, and this is a game that is best played with as many people as you possibly can get at the table. Like, the more you have, the more people bickering and backstabbing and making deals and what have you, that is where the game shines. Now, I can play this game 2-player with my son, and we still have a good time because, it's kind of cutthroat and you're going after each other. But that ebb and flow of war and peace is needed. It's something that definitely helps the game progress, and it's a lot of fun. There's a lot of don't do it, that kind of stuff going on. And especially when you get down, I really love the deterrent card aspect of it. Like when you get to the point where it's like, oh geez, I'm easy pickings for anybody, but then you start cultivating your deck and you start making sure that you have lots of ways to deliver missiles to other people so you can get your final revenge. And at that point, you're going to lose, so your whole goal is to make sure that nobody wins, or at least your most hated rival at the table definitely doesn't win. And there is some quiet satisfaction with taking out the person that took you out as well, which is something great. I mean, there is meat on the bone. It isn't just, hey, play a card, take that, play a card, take that. That isn't what this game is about. There is planning and strategy that you have to do as far as your cards going through. But it is definitely on the lighter edge of games. And as I've gotten older, there are times to play a big, heavy game. I love playing a big, heavy game. And I definitely enjoy those times. But there are times where I've got an hour to kill before everybody else shows up for the D&D session. That just happened this past week, and we played it. We the DM couldn't make it for an hour. We were all sitting in my house doing nothing. I was like, you know what? Let's play Nuclear Destruction. Let's blow each other up for 45 minutes while we wait for the Dungeon Master to show up so we can actually play the D&D game that we were going to play. It worked perfectly. Everybody had a good time. Everybody laughed. Game wrapped up just as the guy shows up, and then we're able to play D&D. That's what a game like Nuclear Destruction works great for. It works great of like my son and I playing it the other night while watching basketball on the TV and just, kind of playing a game, kind of watching the game, kind of playing the game, kind of watching the game. Perfect thing like that. And it is also a game that my old school copy of Nuclear War, is still sitting at my lake cabin. It is a perfect rainy day lake cabin game where I don't want to have to think too hard, but I do want to have some fun with my family and friends. So there you go. Nuclear Destruction. For fans of the old school game, you're going to want the new version. If you've never played it before and you're just looking for a lighter game, a lighter fun game that you can goof around with your buddies, then I think you're going to want it in your collection as well. So if you have any questions about this, about the old Nuclear War, about anything I've mentioned at all, about any games in general, just go ahead, post a comment, do a like, do a subscribe, do the thing. And then until next time, I'm the Undead Viking, and telling you to have yourself one heck of an awesome day. All right, bye-bye.